Alright, what's going on, everybody? So, the Noblesse anime is going to be premiering on Crunchyroll tomorrow, and I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to do a review on the first episode. If I'm not able to do it, then maybe I can do it either the next day or maybe another day this week. Who knows? But I wanted to at least have some video. I at least wanted to have some video sort of related to Noblesse. And so what I decided to do was last night I decided to watch the original video animation Noblesse Awakening, which I believe came out in 2016 or 2018, and it was done by Production IG. And I want to go ahead and talk about this. And one reason why I wanted to at least make sure that I do a video on Noblesse, because I'll be honest with you guys. As I said the other day with my Jujutsu Kaisen review, I mentioned the fact that the Crunchyroll trailers that I saw for God of High School and Jujutsu Kaisen was very underwhelming to me. And now it could be those trailers. It could have been the trailers themselves that were doing a poor job of selling, at least to me, the premise of the show. Or it could be those trailers actually did do their job, and perhaps it was just misleading marketing to make somebody like me think that, oh, this show is going to be about this when it's really going to be about that, right? But honestly, after watching the original video animation for Noblesse and after watching the trailer for the show, and now I know that there's a lot of fans for Noblesse. And make no mistake, I'm not trying to rile anybody up, I guarantee you. But I'm gonna be honest, that trailer, I felt the other day when I said that I felt as though after watching the God of High School trailer and the Jujutsu Kaisen trailer, and that I said that I walked out of, well, not walked out, but I left those trailers basically feeling like those anime were going to be either just middle of the road or just, for lack of a better term here, shonen junk food, right? That's at least what I would refer to it as. And with this trailer, when I saw this trailer the first time, there was a lot of red flags. I mean, to be honest, when I saw the trailer for, and what I'm referring to is the trailer for the actual anime, right? So when I saw the trailer for the actual anime, I'm gonna be honest, my reaction just going out of it was just, this just looks mediocre and generic. And I know I throw that term around a lot, but this, and you'll see why I say that, because here's the thing. And not only did it seem generic just based off of the trailer, and I could be totally wrong. I'll be happy to be wrong, right? But not only did it feel generic, I also started to question, because I questioned the moment that I heard that this was one of the shows that Crunchyroll was gonna be picking up. Because as soon as I saw that trailer, man, and the guy Rai, one of the main characters, the main character, the headlining character of the show, who is referred to as Rai. I know that's not his full name. His full name is Cadis Itrama D. Rizel. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But for the rest of this video, just for the sake of, I'm just going to call him Rai. So, Rai, when we see Rai in high school in the trailer, I'm like, oh my god. So it's literally another, shonen, high school type thing, right? And then I thought to myself, okay, this just seems kind of redundant, because you already have God of High School. So I'm like, what is the big hook here? And as I was watching the OVA, Noblesse Awakening, as I was watching that, I'm just continued to think to myself, why did Crunchyroll choose this over stuff like solo leveling, over stuff like Unordinary? I think there's another show called, or another webtoon called Bastard. There's a lot of stuff that I've heard of. I've never read it, but there's a lot of concepts that I've seen coming out of webtoons that honestly sound just from the premise of just what I've seen, because I've seen a lot of advertisements. I'm like, these seem a lot more, a lot more interesting and intricate than this. And I know I'm judging this off of, and I'm not gonna try to judge the entire series off of a 33 minute, something like that, but off of a 30 some minute OVA. But from what I read, this OVA basically covers the first season of the webtoon, right? And I'm like, after I got finished watching this, as I got finished watching the OVA, I'm just like, this better not be it. This better not be it. I mean, I'm hoping that the anime will cover. I'm hoping that the anime will at least cover more than this, or at least, I said I could give them the benefit of the doubt. This is a 30-minute OVA. They probably condensed a lot of stuff. I'm sure there's a lot more to it. I want to be fair here, but if this is what y'all working with, I question the people at Crunchyroll, right? Their decision as to why they brought this over other stuff. But then I saw some things, I'll admit, I saw some things that made me go, this is why y'all did it. I think this is why y'all did it. And I'm gonna get into what I think that is, right? So just to kind of give you just to kind of give you a brief sort of plot synopsis, I'm actually just gonna read the description from the from Crunchyroll here, right here on the excuse me, on the Noblesse Awakening movie thing. So just to kind of just give you guys that plot summary, and then I'll kind of get into my thoughts on the OVA and everything. So basically, Rai awakens after a 820 year long sleep, and he starts a new life as a high school student. He has some peaceful days with his friends, and then it gets interrupted as his friends basically get attacked by these mysterious attackers with supernatural abilities. Now, that's honestly that summary that pretty much sums it up. I mean, honestly, I think, and I'm not gonna try once again. I'm not trying to. I want to just make this clear. I'm not dismissing the entire show just based off of an OVA. I would never do that. But just judging off of what I've read up on this this show, on this series, as like the webtoon and everything. Yeah, I don't think, just judging off of what I watched, I don't think you're gonna be getting the best story out of this, unless there's something I'm missing, unless there's a lot more, and I'm sure there's a lot more to it, but I don't think you're gonna be walking out of this with the best story. I don't think they got this for its story. I'm gonna be honest. I think they got this because of Rai and his powers and how powerful he is. While I was watching this, I was sort of getting One Punch Man vibes, and I know that might sound like a weird comparison, but just hear me out. Not in the sense that it's gonna be like this sort of a parody of, and for this being a dark fantasy genre show, dealing with stuff like it's basically vampires and zombies and that type of thing, monsters and crap, people with supernatural abilities, stuff like that, right? It's not supposed to be a parody of any of that stuff, like for example, Dracula or anything like that. It's not supposed to be a parody. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is it's gonna be like One Punch Man in the sense that Rai is powerful, and then here's the thing: his friends, as far as we see in the OVA, they're all weak. They're all weak. They can't fight. They're not gonna be able to defend themselves against. I assume is going to be. I assume what is going to be the main threat for Rai, Frankenstein, and Rai's friends. This mysterious organization. They're not gonna be a match for those people, right? I think Rai is the main selling point here. Obviously, with him being the main character, I think that his powers is the main selling point. Because as I continued to watch the OVA, right? Um, I'll admit there were some cool moments. There were some really cool action moments, and I should say like uh the fights and stuff. There were like really there were like maybe two or three cool moments there, and that's what made me think, yeah, they got it for the action. They got it for for his powers, right? So there were two moments that stuck out to me in this where like I definitely took notice. And that is something that if the first episode of the Noblesse anime, if they can really sell you on how powerful Rai is, because he's supposed to be the strongest of all the nobles, right? So if they can sell you on, and if they can sell people like me on this whole on his power alone in that first episode, then they're doing their job. And this is production IG, so the animation for this OVA was really good. But there were two moments, like I mentioned. The first moment is where, actually, before I say this, because before I get into that though, before I get into that, because I need to actually introduce who these characters are. Yeah, I need to introduce who these characters are first. Now we already got Rai. We got Frankenstein, who's basically his servant, and Rai wakes up many years later, and then he's like, oh well, the world has changed. I need to go to school so I can learn some stuff. And my first thing is like when this guy goes to class, he ends up meeting what's his face, Shinwa, I believe that's his name, the Ichigo looking dude. Let me just make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Yeah, so it's Shinwoo. I said Shinwa. It's Shinwoo. Okay, so he ends up meeting Shinwoo while he's going to class one day, and then while they're in the class, the teacher introduces him, and the first thing in my mind is like, yo, this dude is clearly not like he's clearly not their age. He clearly doesn't look their age, and so I'm thinking, why isn't anybody like raising their hand like, teacher, do you realize this is a grown man here? Now, I'm not sure how old he's supposed to be in the show. They never really said, but maybe, like, honestly, you might just have to, like, suspend your disbelief, or maybe he did some type of mind control. Maybe Frankenstein or him did some type of mind control where, like, where they see him as a teenager, because he just doesn't look their age. So that kind of threw me off the whole time while I was watching it. But other than that, like I mentioned before, his friends aren't really, like, they're not fighters, so they can't fight against the organization that we end up learning about. Because here's the thing, this organization, and we never get to hear what the organization's actual name is or their motive. Other than the only thing we know is that they want Noblesse. They want the Noblesse. They want Rai, and I don't know what they want to use him for, but they want him. That's all we know. Unless I missed something, please. If it was in the OVA, and they said it and I just missed it, just let me know. But I don't know what they wanted him for. Maybe to improve their experiments, because what it seemed like, and the show doesn't tell you every single little thing. Well, not show, but the OVA doesn't tell you every single little thing, and that's a good and a bad thing at the same time, because it's a good thing in that, like, it's not a bunch of exposition, but at the same time it's like, yeah, there's some holes there that kind of need to be filled. But once again, they're trying to condense, from my understanding, they're trying to condense a whole season of comics into 30 minutes, so you gotta give them a break, right? But other than that, the organization, right? This organization, they at first they sent some guys to get Rai's coffin before, this was like before Rai woke up, right? And basically Rai wakes up, obviously Rai wakes up, and then the organization has basically they have sent these two dudes, and what we see in the OVA, there are these two experiments. I believe their numbers. I believe it was M24 and M23. Hopefully, I'm not getting their numbers mixed up. But here's the thing with this, and this kind of goes back to what I said about this show kind of feeling generic, or at least about this whole concept, or at least like I guess Noblesse in general. This thing honestly felt like, as I was watching it, it kind of felt like a mixture, a hodgepodge of so many familiar things that I have seen, and I'm not just I'm not just limiting that statement to anime. I'm talking about movies, video games, and stuff. Like, for example, I believe it's M23 that looks like, he looks like Mr. X. He looks like Mr. X from Resident Evil. I don't know if that was, I don't know if that was the inspiration for the character, but he looks like a bootleg he looks like a bootleg Mr. X. But I will say this, he uh what I mentioned earlier about there being like two or three scenes that was like really cool action scenes or whatever. He did have a really cool scene. You know, there's a point. Well, I'm not gonna spoil it, but he does something pretty cool where like he runs off the wall and he man, I'm gonna say it. It's old. This is an old OVA. Like I said, I'm gonna try not to spoil too much just in case y'all want to watch it yourselves. But he basically runs off a wall and self destructs, which I thought was cool. And then there was a point where you know, other than that, there was also a point where Rai, and I think this was the part in the OVA where I was like, okay, yeah, this is why they got this show. This is why they picked it up. The powers, you know, how powerful Rai is, because it sure is enough. It sure enough ain't his personality, but we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. So the cool thing that Rai does, so Rai goes to basically save his friends, because at a certain point the organization, they want Rai, they want the Noblesse, and they basically kidnap his friends because they're witnesses basically, and they want to tie up, the organization wants to tie up loose ends basically. Essentially, Rai comes to their rescue. So once Rai and Jake are finally face to face, Jake thinks that Rai is so shaken, so afraid of him that he can't look him in the eye. But Rai's like, no, this is not where our eyes meet. This is probably one of the best. This is probably one of the you know, hands down the best scene in the OVA in my opinion. He's like, look, this is not where our eyes meet, and then he makes him. He literally makes Jake kneel down. He says kneel, and Jake just goes straight to the floor, and he's like, this is where our eyes meet. That was a cool moment, and that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is why they got this. This is exactly why they got this. That moment, and then Frankenstein fighting the other person from the organization, the woman, and I forgot her name, so forgive me. But yeah, like it's the powers, it's the action. I think it's what they're trying to is what I think they're gonna sell this on. I think that was the same. Honestly, I think that's the same. I won't say completely that that's the same reason that they got what's the name of it? Got a high school. That's not the. I don't think that's the 100% reason why they got that. But I do think that those are going to be their Dragon Ball Z for this streaming platform. I don't think we're gonna get the, like I said earlier. I don't think we're gonna get the most story, the most, you know, complex, you know, the most complex story and characters out of this. Because going back to a point that I was about to make earlier, because I said I was gonna get back to this. Yeah, the other characters surrounding Rai, and really Rai himself, these personalities, these characters, they're not that interesting. They're not. They're not at all. I'm sorry. If you liked it, like I said, if you're a bit, listen, guys, I want to make this 100% sure because I'm not 100% clear because I don't want anyone getting angry at me, which usually always happens when I make these when I make videos like this. Just giving my thoughts, but yeah, these characters, there's nothing interesting about them. Now, again, this is a 30-minute OVA. This is a 30-minute OVA. They could do a lot more with 12 to 13 episodes, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot that they took out. I'm pretty sure there's a lot they took out from the webtoon, right? So maybe there'll be more there, right? That's what I'm hoping. But honestly, the thing is with Rai. Rai has such a dry, just for a lack of better words. He doesn't have the best personality. He has a really dry sort of personality, right? And with this character being in a high school, and you're setting this character in a modern age, right? A modern age high school, and you have these other characters around him. You have Shinwoo. I think the other character's name was Khan or something like that, and the other one was Yuna or Yuno. I think it was Yuna. But you have these characters. They don't seem very interesting. I'm a be honest. When you have a character like Rai, and I should say I'm no expert, but I would think when you have a character like Rai who doesn't have the strongest personality, the most distinctive of personalities, the type of personality for a character that makes you go, oh yeah, this character is really cool. I like this. I like this aspect of this character. And the same could be said for these other characters like Shinwoo and the other characters. There doesn't seem to be anything that makes you go, okay, I like this character. I like this aspect of this character. I didn't get any of that out of those characters, and then that's a bad thing because when you have someone like Rai who isn't the, like I said, he's not the most interesting dude in the room outside of his powers. Like, you take the powers away, this character isn't really interesting, really. So when you don't have characters around someone like that, like you need good strong personalities and complex characters around, honestly, around someone like Rai, who's like freaking, I assume, super OP because he's the noblest. And that's something that one, the guy that did One Punch Man, that's something that he realized. Like, why do you think that in season 2 of One Punch Man, as bad as that kind of was, why do you think that like most of the time was spent most of the time was spent with other heroes? And why do you think even in season 1, like, you had characters like Genos, I should say, rather. You had characters like Genos and other characters that popped up later on. You had those characters around Saitama, because if it was just Saitama, the show's gonna get repetitive. The show's gonna get boring. And I feel like it's the same. It's sort of kind of the same situation here. And just to get back on another point that I brought up earlier about this kind of feeling like a mixture of things of things that I've seen before. Like, I've watched shows. Well, I watch movies like Dracula Untold. I've watched where I played Castlevania Shadow. What was it? Shadows. God, I forgot the name of the joint. But the Castlevania thing, the Castlevania game on the PS3. I played that. I watched that. I watched the movie I just mentioned. Resident Evil 2. There's so many things out here. This feels like a hodgepodge. Again, this just feels like a hodgepodge of all of that mixed in with basic basic shonen battle high school. Well, not necessarily shonen battle high school, but the high school setting. And I think that was the thing. As soon as I saw the high school setting in the trailer, that like immediately like my interest level just it just plummeted down as soon as I saw that, because it's not only the fact that you already have got a high school, so this pickup, you picking this show up feels kind of redundant, but it's not only that. It's like, honestly, I feel like this would have honestly been better out it would have been better without the modern day setting, and without him having to go to high school. And even if you want to keep the even if they wanted to keep the modern day the modern day setting, okay, that's fine. But putting him in high school, I think was too much. I think you didn't need to put him in high school. That's just my opinion. Again, I know there's gonna be like a bunch of Noblesse fans that are thinking that like I'm straight up here to slander your show. Listen, I'm not. I'm just speaking my mind here after watching this OVA. Cause listen, after watching this OVA, I can honestly say I'm going into this to this series with very low expectations, man. Like usually when stuff is like overhyped, like let's say Jujutsu Kaisen, like the other day, I mentioned how that was overhyped, right? Usually when stuff is overhyped, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go in this. I'm gonna try to go in this level headed because people are telling me this is the best things. This is the best thing since sliced bread. But this, after watching the OVA, I'm just like I'm going into this thing with the lowest of expectations, man. The lowest of low expectations. So if the show surprises me and it's good, and I hope it's good, I hope it's good. I think I have to start saying this every time now, so that people don't get butthurt and angry. I hope the show is good, guys. I don't think I should need to say that. Like, why would I want a show to suck? That's just less stuff for me to watch. But honestly, this doesn't. I'm sorry. Based off of this, based off of what I've seen, Noblesse, this just ain't, and this might not be for me, and that's fine, And if you like it, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna like. Who cares? If you like it, it's cool. If you like it, it's cool. But I don't get why they. Out of all the things, man, out of all the things on webtoons, man, I think they could have chosen something way better than this. But yeah, I think I've said all that I can say about the Noblesse Awakening OVA. It was all right. It was one thing I will say is at the end of the day, I think that this series is going to be entertaining for most people. I thought the OVA was, it's watchable. It's watchable. I'll say that. Like I didn't finish the OVA and I was like, oh man, this is horrible. This is like the worst thing I've ever watched. Noblesse is gonna be overrated. Da 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 da. Like nah, I didn't leave the OVA. I keep saying leave. I didn't, finish the OVA and think all of that. I'm like, now it might end up being overrated, but it might just be, and it might just be an okay show, and that's fine. That's fine. But as far as the OVA, I just thought it was all right. Like I said, animation was good. The fights, the two moments that I mentioned, I think there's really three, I would say. But there's some cool moments in it. I honestly think it's worth. Honestly, if you're like me and you're kind of on the fence about watching this, I honestly say watch the OVA. And when I say watching this, I mean like the full-on anime series that's going to be coming tomorrow. If you're on the fence about watching that, watch the OVA. And if you don't like the OVA, then you may not want to watch the anime. But I would say, like, I would honestly just suggest watching the OVA. Now, like I said, I just want to reiterate this, that the OVA condensed a whole season into 30 minutes. So there could be so much in that first episode that I didn't get here in the OVA that could make this so much better. That could even surprise me. That could drive this from a 7 to an 8 or even a 9. But like I said, based off of what I saw, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world. But yeah, so that was pretty much my thoughts on the Noblesse OVA. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And honestly, thank you guys for watching. Whether you like the video, dislike the video, whatever. Just thank you guys for watching. I know this video was quite long, but I had to get my thoughts out there. I'm probably not gonna end up editing this because I don't have the time to like edit all my mistakes out. So forgive me for that, man. But I'm gonna be out of here. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.